And you're live.
Hey everyone, we're live. It's just me and Vin today. Garrett's here for a moment just to say hello, and then he's leaving. So bye, Garrett.
There we go. We're live on YouTube now. Adios, Garrett.
We're having a bit of a broken run on the show because I'm on vacation next week, and I'm struggling to find a replacement. We're trying to bully someone into joining Vin and Garrett. So I think we might have a special guest next week. We'll see who I managed to convince to come on at midnight UK time.
We'll try to get. We can always try to get Jared back on.
Yeah, I think people really enjoy when Jared comes on. I feel like it's kind of his show.
Yeah,
like people watch us like for the first 10 minutes just in case we call Jared up, and then they start watching if he's not on the show. So we should get him on like a regular feature, I think.
He's got all the super duper secrets for high SEO rankings.
He does all that thing, like that testing stuff that you're supposed to do.
Yeah, he does things the right way, I guess you would say.
Yeah. Whereas I think on our own sites, Garrett and I are a little bit more on the grey hat side of our own business, and
yeah.
And, I read your case study. I know you're the same.
It's actually these days not so much gray, but there's always shades of gray no matter what we do.
Yeah. You're moving more towards Jared's good boy.
Yeah. Man, I'm proud of him because he's been chipping away for a couple of years now at his authority site, which will remain unnamed. But,
of course, yeah.
He's doing real well now, but it was a long road to success.
Yeah, I mean, if you will go and build a big, broad authority site, you take on some pretty chunky competitors, don't you? I kind of like your approach a little bit better on the kind of short-term rewards. You feel a little bit more like you're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, I know he's probably going to end up richer than all of us in like 10 years' time, but I feel like you already bought a house from one of the ones you sold, so you get some short-term.
I'm probably killing the long-term potential of a big exit, but the peace of mind I have that I was able to accomplish a lot of little things in the meantime helps a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you've been able to start more straight away. It's not like your knowledge is, and it's still early enough. I mean, I won't ruin one of the Quora questions from later, but it's not like things are so tough now you can't start a site. I mean, people are starting hundreds, and of those, 3-4% are actually making reasonable money within a reasonable time, which sounds terrible because I'm sure it was like 100% 10 years ago or something. But
as you can imagine, I see just about every niche that you could possibly come up with. And,
yeah, I think you get more exposure to the variety than we do. It's
the clients that I have that are, I guess you would say, portfolio investors or have large portfolios of affiliate sites. They start new sites up every month, and they're finding those low competition niches. They still exist for sure.
Yeah, well, there's this whole like training courses. People like the chaps we know at Brand Builders. Their whole training's based around helping people snipe away at that stuff. So, there's whole communities where people are just doing that. I think Builder Society, where we're more active, is people have more grand ambitions on there.
Right.
But you bump into more people like Jared who are on a 10-year journey to glory. Those affiliate guys who are just kind of sniping away at, they found a new type of bike spring or something that's going to be popular for a year. But there's definitely money to be made in that stuff. So
it'll be interesting and see how that tactic works over the next, I guess, 5 years. Like right now, people are going back to the small, niche, 50-page sites like the case study I'm doing. But
yeah, I've been following that loosely. I haven't managed to read all of your posts. You guys post a little bit too prolifically for me to read them all. But I try and catch at least a couple a month just to see where you're up to.
I'm behind by a couple of weeks. Word Agents has just been so busy. So I was planning on writing all the content myself personally for the case study, but I think I'm gonna have Word Agents do it and just add my edits to it myself afterwards, just because I'm not gonna have much
we
time.
we had a really slow April, so we got caught up on a lot of stuff. But this year's been really good for new business. It's been challenging from a training and stuff. We spoke about that a couple of shows ago, so I won't bore you guys again. But training is a big. When you just like bring on your first assistant, like I mean, Vin's going through this at the minute. He's in the first steps, so he can probably share in a year's time whether he did better than me or not at adding all these extra people, because he's only just got them now. He's in the honeymoon period where he's sleeping in till 8:32 instead of getting up at 7:25.
What I'm learning now is plans usually go out the window. Because
man plans, God laughs, as they say.
Yeah. I had all these plans, and I, maybe foolishly assumed that, the increase in business would go in the same trajectory as how I was going to execute my plans, and the increase in business came in much faster than expected.
It's really unpredictable when you're doing the kind of marketing that we're doing, because we're not, like, both of us are the same. We don't do paid ads. So like when you do traditional B2B marketing, you run X amount of paid, that generates X% of leads. They go into your CRM, you chase them all up, and X% of those convert. And you need that X number of leads in the beginning to get the amount of growth you're targeting, and you just work a machine. We're doing this kind of authority-based marketing where, we're guest posting. I've got one coming up. I'll discuss that in the main topic section, because I've completely failed to find anything super interesting on DuckDuckGo versus Google. The only thing I found was that who was it we had on that was talking about how they use it for their programming searches now, and they find it really good. I did try it for a week where I didn't do any programming searches on Google, and I actually found all of my answers on DuckDuckGo. So
there was that kid John that was on a couple of weeks back.
That was it. Yeah, it was John who was doing them. Yeah, so John gave us that tip, and he's actually correct, but I've got an alternative thought, so we'll let Vin talk about what he found, and then I'll segue us onto something else.
Cool.
But yeah, it's kind of interesting times when you do that kind of marketing, because it comes really chunky. Like you don't know whether a guest post is going to be huge or not. And if I do one of my LinkedIn sessions, sometimes I'll comment on a whole bunch of people's stuff and nothing will happen. Another day I'll sign in and I've got like 20 people added me on Skype, and I did the same 15 minutes of work to get,
Yeah.
There's no way to kind of judge whether you're gonna.
It is chunky, but for me at least, it's like I'll release a guest post, and then the next 2 weeks will be insane with new business, and then out of that, I might retain 10% of that chunk of new clients. But that 10% is going to be a recurring client for good. So what I'm running into now is like I've got all these recurring clients, but now when the new clients come in, there's not much.
There's not enough slack. Yeah.
There's not enough capacity to handle those new orders. So we're hiring, training, building a CRM, doing YouTube shows.
Yeah, I want to see your new CRM. When's it coming, man?
He said 10 days on Monday. So
nice, really soon then.
Yeah. We're working with the host now to get us up on a subdomain. We're tying in.
Where are you hosting it?
On the Word Agents host, WPX. So we're putting it on there. Just on.
It's all Laravel, you said, wasn't it? So just host it anywhere, can't you? When it's PHP?
Yeah. He gave me a different framework. I'll actually tell you what that is right now.
Oh. Okay.
Let's see. It is the Code Igniter framework in PHP.
I've heard of that one as well. Yeah, I'm not a big PHP user. Although, did I tell you our developers, the ones we outsourced to, and it's such a small project, I should have written it myself, but we were really busy in January. Mm-hmm. And they were like, "Oh yeah, we'll have this done by March." And there's no way I was going to get it done by March. It's the 11th of May now, people, and we haven't got it yet. So I definitely could have fitted it in by now. And I told them at the beginning, I don't think this PHP Laravel thing's going to work out for you. It's not going to handle this concurrency and things. And they're like, no, it's much improved since you saw it last. It's going to be fine. And then 3 weeks ago, they finally admitted, yeah, we're really struggling because Laravel doesn't do this. And
Yeah.
It's like, well, I hate to say I told you so, guys, but you're not getting any extra budget for this. You're just going to have to code it again in what I told you in the first place. So
Right. I think Avi's running into a few issues with, how the different roles in the company interact with each other, as far as updates and just, I guess, an overview of what's going on, within the company.
Yeah, I ran into that coding my own CRM when we did that back in January last year. So I just made everyone a second tier administrator, and me and Garrett super administrators that had the proper full kind of edit the database access. And I just kind of gave up on tiering everyone, except the writers. Obviously, they shouldn't be allowed to access anything. But
it was like when the an account manager moves one project from one bucket to another for whatever reason, and the content managers log in, it didn't move to the second bucket. So shit like that.
So that sounds like the kind of thing that only happens in PHP. If he was using Django, it would be all fine.
And then,
I get it. I mean, people become experts in their framework. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure
I don't know.
It's gonna be much better than what I coded for myself when you get it, because he knows what he's doing, and I learned as I coded. So
he's also integrating Mailgun, so we could have all kinds of automated notifications depending on where the project is.
Yeah, I signed up for Mailgun, but I found that we send so few emails automatically. I just send them through our SMTP server normally. I never ended up using the Mailgun integration in the end. So.
Yeah,
I wanted to turn it on. I wanted to turn it on just so that I didn't waste my time integrating it. But then I was like, "There's just no point."
I think we're going to have like 3 or 4 touches throughout the production cycle, and then also there's going to be automated emails to the staff too. So notifications to writers when they have a new project waiting for them.
Yeah, we do that. Yeah.
If they're going to be late, when deadlines come up. So it's going to be cool.
That kind of stuff is super handy. Like, why are you late on this? An editor hasn't got to waste time sending them the email. And when you get to your size, I mean, you're talking about saving someone half an hour a week.
Right.
That really adds up to a lot of. Plus, it's boring work that they hate. So, like, as the year goes on, and the longer they've been editing with you, like by year 4, they're taking an hour and a half to send those tedious manual emails, because it's like, I'll do that last, and then they're like. You know what it's like with that kind of tedious work. If you can automate it, it's amazing.
Yeah, we're going to spend about 2 weeks just testing it, and then we're going to roll it out to clients slowly. We have a number of clients that
put me last, because I don't like to.
Yeah, I know. We have a number of clients that refuse to use our order form as it is, just because they're.
Well, I tried that, and you wouldn't let me refuse.
Bigger than Reach Creator, but so what we're going to do is we're just going to move them over to the new system first, because they don't interact with it anyway, and kind of use that to slowly transition everybody over.
I think they'll much prefer it. Like, the addition of bulk upload and all that kind of stuff that they've not been able to do before is going to be a huge win for them, and all the order tracking and.
Yeah,
and they're gonna love it. I mean, that's been kind of you guys' biggest challenge, like from your workload point of view, more than anything else, is not having that kind of automation. So
yeah,
but I mean, from a client perspective, like you want to be kind of like text broker for people who just want to get big orders in,
right?
But without the terrible result
the
that you get
bullshit,
or no writing. They have no writers anymore.
Yeah, and I'm also going to be moving towards
we've had like $200 on Text Broker for like years now that we just can't spend. Like we'll just dump on this crap that we need. You load the 20 jobs up or whatever, and then you're getting like 3 a week back or something, and it's like, what is this? Some kind of joke or something? Like
I was running some kind of Web 2.0 link building projects last summer. and I just jumped on Text Broker to spend like $50, to get like their 1-star content or whatever it was. And like you said, it took me like 2 weeks to get it done.
Yeah, and that's down at the 1-star level where they're like lowest tier
Yes.
writers. It's like they haven't even got any of those people anymore. I mean, I know they've got their competitor, I think iWriter or something, but
iWriter like popped up on Flippa for a couple of days, and then the listing itself got so much. It went viral basically within like the SEO circle, and I guess they got so many questions about the sale that they took the listing off Flippa.
I know, not for a fact, but I'm highly convinced based on the emails they send out to their mailing list that they make a substantial amount of their profit from selling affiliate products to people that sign up to iWriter rather than
the email list is pretty annoying for iWriter. I'm on that, and they're getting 1 or 2 emails a day, and it depends on which segment you're into. That they're advertising to the writers or advertising to the clients, and I'm sure they make a good bit of money.
Here's how bad iWriter was. We tested them out for some really low tier content we needed, and we needed just similar reasons to Vin, like Web 2.0 stuff and just your usual spammy things you do with your sites that are in spaces like stop smoking and stuff like that. We just ordered a load of this trash content on there, and we had one of our staff looking after it. It took us so much time to get articles off iWriter, like from giving them feedback, rejecting them, because every day it was an 80% reject rate.
Yeah,
like it wasn't even good enough for trash.
Well, you know what, man?
It took her so much time. She would have been quicker writing them herself, which I think that's the most important thing when you get a service provider. Is it should definitely save you time. If there's a lot of hassle in the feedback loop, right, it's not just that you're spending extra money already compared with if you just hired the people and built a team. It can't be like you need someone to manage the whole relationship full time just to try and get some work back. It's like
it just speaks to the shift in culture when it comes to content creation these days. I mean, from 2010 to 2015, Text Broker and iWriter were huge just because that level of quality of content was all that was necessary. But these days, even little niche site guys almost have to have the quality of content as a larger enterprise business. So,
well, that's a pretty low bar.
It's
what the
crazy.
enterprise businesses put up on their site.
I speak to when I hire writers. They have a wide variety of a wide range of salary requirements, so to speak, or per word rates. And the guys that are demanding like 50 cents to 75 cents to $1 per word, I always hit them up. I'm like, I can't afford to pay you that, but I was like, what space are you usually working in? What kind of client do you usually go after? And they tell me it's just these big corporate guys, but a single article they'll be working on for a week, and they'll be back and forth with their content teams.
Yeah, I mean they're not paying per word really. They're paying for a freelance content consultant that's going to be part of their brand.
I was watching another YouTube show this week, and Eric from Neil Patel's Marketing School podcast was on, and he admitted that Neil Patel spends $1,000 a day on content, and he's got his system, going. So he's got content creators, editors, researchers, but each article.
He must have paid Brian Dean a lot of money for the stuff Brian produced for him.
I didn't even know that he did that.
Yeah, well, Brian's face is on the videos for what did he call it? Quick Sprout University. All those videos
really?
for Brian Dean. Apparently, a lot of the blog posts were written by Brian Dean at one point as well.
That's
probably the better ones. I mean,
that's gonna be a profitable co-promotion right there between the two of them.
Yeah,
but
they still do a lot of plugging each other. I shake my head at you, Brian Dean. But anyway, go on then.
He was speaking about Neil's niche site that he used as the example site to launch neilpatel.com. So it's actually like a supplement site, health site, and he's spending about 300 grand a year just on content to put out.
I remember when he did the case study for that site when he launched it.
Yeah, $100,000 in a year. So or 6 months.
But he did it all through FBA, fulfilled by Amazon. Those of you guys who aren't.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was really interesting because like he built the brand, but he used the brand and his site just to get that initial traction on Amazon. And then once he was ranking on Amazon, all the money came from FBA, direct sales on Amazon. So it just shows how important Amazon is now for e-commerce. And we've shared some pretty black hat tips previously on the show. You have to watch. We're not going to tell you what episode. You have to watch all the episodes to find them. But we have shared some black hat Amazon tips from the inside.
You know, we were talking about before the show started tonight about marketers that move from SEO and they get into trading or investing or crypto. But just the same amount of guys are moving towards their own product, their own white label product, their own FBA.
I think that's been for a while. I think that's always been the case. I mean, I'm trying to think through some good examples. I mean, there was the guy who went and made like Toon Video or something like that. Made the video for agencies to buy and then resell the videos to their clients.
Well, even just
there's some other good examples. There's loads of examples of kind of really legit making your own products. Then there's the supplements and dodgy marketing courses. Well,
the health supplement space, it could be dodgy, but it could be, if you treat it like a real business, it becomes a real business. But there's plenty of white label, private label supplements that you can stick your own brand on and start selling. And
you can actually design them yourself. There's companies where you can give them the formula, and they'll just make it.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. You can basically get anything you want made as long as it's legal.
I've seen guys go from, and I was jealous when they were making like $500,000 to $1 million a year from their authority sites, and then they move over to FBA and they get out of SEO really, or use their SEO skills to launch the FBA business. And now they're doing,
Amazon SEO is huge.
They're doing $2 million plus a year just selling a private label product. So there's always a next step in this business for sure.
Yeah, I mean it's huge. I mean it's like what we were chatting about at the beginning of the show. Like we've got to the point where both us and Vin are struggling to, and our clients know this. We're typically about a week late at the minute on orders because we had a massive rush this year unexpectedly, like Vin did. Vin's a couple of weeks late on a lot of orders as well. It's a challenge to close the gap, and
luckily for us, our clients have been really accommodating.
I've been very apologetic and still am because it's not acceptable. We need to get back up to speed ASAP. It's been, 7 really, really tough weeks.
I've been considering building my team about 50% more than my average monthly order would accommodate, just to cut down on turnaround time. But I don't want to get to the point where
the problem when you do that, because I've been in that position before, is you start losing the good people because they don't get enough work, or if you try and I will just keep the good people busy and keep them 100% booked, then there's just nothing for the extra people. And then when you think you've got them, but then you send them some work and they're like, oh, you've hardly been sending me anything. I haven't got time for this.
Yeah.
It's I think something like 20% or 15% is probably optimal.
Right.
Because if you're growing 15% a month, you're just absolutely annihilating the world. So 15% year on year is a really good year. If you're doing 15 a month,
I think
you better be taking some. You better be taking some heart medication or something.
It's a symptom of a business model that doesn't rely on recurring revenue. So that's definitely something that's on our horizon too. We want to launch a few other service offerings that are aimed at recurring revenue. But that'll probably be at the beginning of 2019. But until then, we're playing this juggling act of new orders and writers.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I mean, because the economy's good, there's more agencies, there's more competition for the people that you would like to hire.
Mm-hmm.
Because before people that would have been easy hires as a writer, they're like senior content editor at a brand now, or social media manager at a brand, and obviously social media manager at a brand pays more than content writer. So, but it's the same job. It's a content job.
Right, and you know what, the gig economy and gig workers are becoming more educated into what they can demand for their services too. So, both of our companies, we have, I guess you would say, like our management teams are real employees, and then we rely on freelance work to do a lot of the production. And these guys, I'm noticing at least, they're starting to charge a little bit more. They're starting to ask different questions, which is good and bad. Good for the client, probably bad for me as a business because my margins are going to shrink. But all in all, it ends up in a better quality product.
Yeah, I'm not sure we can have our margins shrink too much in the link building game. To be honest, it's a pretty. Oh, geez, I was chatting to a chap today who'd been working with one of our competitors. He wouldn't tell me who, otherwise I would happily out them on the show. Because although we can't share links in the chat, can we? I was going to say put the Authority Hacker link up in the chat again. Those boys ripped on our competitors for us, so we don't have to. But he wouldn't tell me who. But they basically had. So for those of you who don't know, we do natural outreach and we have a paid links product as well. These guys had basically built links for this chap on all of the sites on our paid links block list. So, like, obviously our paid links are less good than the natural because they're people who will take money to link to whatever for the most part. They're not the most discerning or premium site. You're going to get better sites if you make an amazing link bait and pitch it to really good sites than you are if you pay people for links. But we try and be at the premium end of the paid links, so we try and block list everything that just is terrible. Every single link I looked at was on our paid links block list. So if you do that kind of paid links and you're only charging, they're only charging $20-30 less than us. Imagine what their margins are when they're paying some of these sites $15.
Yeah, it sucks.
But people buy it, and it's such a shame because, like, this chap, he's like, a year in, do I need to disavow all the work that I've paid for the last year? And it's like, well, pretty much you've got to gradually, and that's actually a really interesting point. I'm glad we segued onto this. So you've done that. You're a real brand. You worked with a link builder who's done terrible work. You start looking at the sites and there's freaking porn links in every other article. There's gambling links. There's all this other stuff on there. And you're like, oh, I need to disavow all this. The problem is Google's not very good at knowing that those are all shit links. If you just go and disavow all of those or get them to take them all down, you're going to immediately tank.
Right.
Even if there are 20% of these a good link provider, 80% are trash, which is pretty common. Mm-hmm. You're still getting that 20% value right now. If you just slash and burn the whole lot, you're going to immediately take a cut in your revenue, which, you're probably like me and Vin. You've got staff, you've got contractors.
Yeah, you don't want to do that at all.
You don't want to do that at all. So my recommendation is always this. Hire someone competent, whether that's in-house or you outsource it to someone who knows what they're doing. And say you've got 150 links you need to get rid of. So you order 20 a month, 25 a month or something like that, and you disavow 12 a month. So you're always increasing your total number of good links massively, right? Because probably there's only, out of the 12 you're disavowing, probably only 2 were counted anyway. But you're never reducing your total link number. Just do the disavow as a gradual process. Get rid of the worst ones first and just always be replacing them with better links. So you do get rid of them all, but at no point do you take that. Obviously, if a penalty comes along, less common these days than the old days, but if a penalty comes along and you get caught, that's just bad luck.
Obviously, the optimal way to do it would not be to build those bad links in the first place, and just to start off.
But I mean, if you're, I don't want to say the niche the guy's in, but say you're an accountant, and the articles look decent, the sites have got good metrics on Ahrefs.
Right.
You thought it was fine.
Right.
I mean, these sites all had much higher metrics than the metrics we saw.
Yeah, but they still had they shady,
were absolute. Well, they had no traffic though.
Right.
Zero.
Right.
I mean, some of ours have low traffic. Some of them have massive traffic. On average, they do pretty well.
Luckily, you're never going to bring a guy like that onto your staff because you pretty much train your staff from the ground up too. So.
Yeah. He was just unlucky who he'd hired. I mean, if you're an accountant and the metrics look good on Ahrefs and that's the tool you've chosen, they're like, it's DR. I mean, they were all like DR60s, DR55s. But you look at it and it's all porn links and stuff, and they've been penalized.
Yeah.
You don't want links in those neighborhoods. I mean, it's like. Anyway. So yeah, don't build them in the first place. But I mean, the thing is, these guys they brazenly buy stands at conferences, and I'm not talking about Page One Power. I like those guys.
The link resellers that are reselling.
The people that build links of that quality brazenly buy. And I'm not talking about Page One Power because I know they're at every conference. They're just a more expensive and, in my opinion, obviously slightly less good version of me. But they aim at a different market. They aim at enterprise, so they're more expensive than us. But we really like those guys. They probably do okay work for the most part.
I probably do.
Well, I've referred people to them who we couldn't help because of the contract was a contract I couldn't sign. And
I've got a couple of competitors too that I send clients to if I can't take on the project or if it's not in our wheelhouse.
But so I'm not talking about them. So think about who else sponsors a lot of conferences and always has a stand, and you'll know who I'm talking about. They brazenly turn up at conferences. As link building for agencies will help you out, all this nonsense, and they're buying the $15 paid links from penalized sites and selling them to you for between $80 and $200.
Yeah.
And so they're cheaper than us because we start really for our good links at $195, but you're being ripped off even on their cheapest product at $80. I mean,
so if you want to learn about these link agencies, quote unquote, just go on Authority Hacker and check out their link agency comparison article.
Yeah, Perrin did a really good job. I mean, they took some heat, obviously, from the PR machines at these various companies, but they don't seem to be afraid. They kept the post up and stuck by their guns with a couple of small clarifications, as any reputable website like Authority Hacker would do.
Perrin's actually not with them anymore. He's
Perrin's
on his own. Yeah, he left. They separated on good terms, and I think Perrin's just focusing on his own websites going forward. So maybe we'll
Perrin's a really smart guy. I'd love to have him on the show sometime. He did say he would come on, but we need to get the show a little bit more momentum before someone of his his illustrious caliber would consider jumping on. So which is understandable. I mean, we're a new show. I mean, I know
guys, we do have some quality guests waiting in the wings. We're just
if you can get us, pump the show out on Twitter, smash that subscribe button, just get the viewing numbers up just a little bit. We've got some absolutely top tier guests who'll jump on the show. We're not even exaggerating. Well, you saw the 24 hours of SEO, what we put together. I mean, we can have that kind of quality guest, at least once a month, maybe even twice a month, if we can get the viewing figures up to a couple of hundred views an episode within a week or two of the episode going live. Because in this industry, that's a pretty big show.
It makes sense that the viewing numbers aren't crazy high when we do it live. But we're at like 60 views a week per episode at this point. After it's up on,
they usually end up at about 150 in the end. The episodes once they've been up for a while, especially if we've covered an interesting topic. you know, and if we have someone who's semi-famous in their country, like Tiffany De Silva on or whatever, she's pretty famous in Canada. We got like, she had like 300 views immediately, and you know.
Is she's well known up in Canada?
Yeah, she is. Yeah, she's really well known up there. Yeah.
Cool. So you want to jump into our couple of news items?
Let's jump into the news.
I don't have access to change the show notes, but I will drop the links in the chat for now.
Yeah, back in the chat, and we'll sort the show notes out as soon as we can. Definitely within 24 hours.
Cool. So this first one is all about searcher intent, and if you've been listening to me at all the past couple of weeks or months, that's all I've really been talking about. I actually just did a guest post on that recently.
I think I'm the wrong one. I was on a Twitter one.
What's that?
I was on the Twitter one. Let me just.
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
It's okay. No, I've swapped them around in the document.
All right, cool.
Right order. So crack on.
So yeah, search intent is basically the concept that every keyword has an intent behind it, and you want to create your content around that intent so you can best meet the visitors' needs when they land on your site, so they don't bounce back and you don't lose rankings as a result of those indirect ranking factors. So whoever wrote this article, Dave Davies, he's created a system around how you can create, how you can research and create keyword lists based on search intent. And he also kind of ties in supplemental content and the idea of the hub and spoke model, where, you know, if you want to rank for a target keyword, a specific article for that target keyword, you're going to need a lot of supplemental content around that on your site that also links to that page to show Google that you're the most relevant option. So I'll let you guys read the article yourself because it's pretty lengthy, but this is definitely solid when it comes to creating your content around what the actual user is looking for when they use a given query. I think you.
Sorry, I muted myself because I had to quickly type a message. I mean, I think search intent is so interesting because there's various ways you can try and measure what Google thinks the searcher wants. So you can type the query in and just look at what ranks there already, and that gives you an idea if there's just no chance you can get there. But there are situations where Google has it wrong and there's a mix of results there. And maybe 7 out of 10 are the wrong thing and 3 out of 10 are the right thing, and they're going to get more clicks. If you can figure that stuff out while it's in flux and there's those mix of ones there and get the right page on page one, you'll be one of the long-term winners. So it's kind of interesting. The
cool thing he described around what you just said is that most key phrases have a primary intent and also a secondary intent. So in his example, the key phrase is real estate in Miami. The primary intent would be real estate because that's the main topic. But the modifier or the secondary intent is Miami. And if you can figure out all the modifiers around the primary intent part of that key phrase and add different modifiers and different secondary intent and work that into your article, you're going to have a much higher chance at ranking number one for the target keyword. Because your article actually attacks all of those modifiers and all of those secondary intent keywords.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
So yeah,
I guess it's all part of Google trying to understand language better, isn't it? Like the queries are becoming more a complete thing that Google understands rather than word plus word plus word. Is it on the page? It's now what's the most important part of this, and then what are the modifiers? And Google can tell that now without you used to have to put them in order, and it can kind of tell what the modifiers are now and stuff.
And that's actually exactly what his system is helping you to determine. You start with your main keyword for the overarching site, and then you can create a vocabulary, but it kind of like branches off, to infinity with all the supplemental keywords and supplemental content that you can add. So if you start with your main sites,
how much of this do you play with on your own sites?
I do this on an article level. So one site is kind of just marinating now because it's pretty competitive. So I'm just letting it age and accrue links. But we're going to be doing some content upgrades where we have our core hub page that we want to rank, and we're going to be building a lot of supplemental content around it. And then we're also going to have a blog post that goes off once a month, every month, to keep that whole hub and spoke fresh with new content every month.
We're rolling that out as well. Like your idea about the content upgrades, we're starting to roll that out now, not just on our own sites, but on the couple of clients that we've still got from the old consulting days. We're bringing that in because I think that's a really strong idea these days, because you've got a page that's and I say this to our clients as well, it's like links are a big part of the puzzle, but a lot of the time you're better off making another new amazing link bait and building links to that than you are specifically just building links to one page that isn't ranking. You might be better off just massively upgrading that page so that it's the best page.
Right.
Because if you have the 17th best page on a topic in the world, you might need to build 80 links directly to that page just to kind of force it up there onto page one somehow.
Yeah,
whereas,
there's
if you build an amazing new link bait that you can spread authority and just keep building your site, you might build those 50 links and they'll help all of your site more because it's a more general piece and it's going to attract better links because it's more interesting than trying to get links to that one really difficult page. And then you spend a smaller amount of money getting a load more content added to that page and upgrade it. You can sometimes find that page will move to page one sooner than if you just pounded links.
Yeah.
But go on, Vin, because you were going to talk about working out links to specific pages and how many you need.
There's been clear evidence of it definitely over the last quarter that iterating your content is a direct ranking factor almost. People are adding a paragraph here and there, they're updating the facts, or maybe they're just updating the date on their post. And within a week or two, they're getting a clear ranking boost, a clear increase in traffic. So that's what you really got to do.
Is that for pages and topics that you think are affected by query demands freshness, or do you think that's something that's across the board now?
I do think that there's
to give you an example. Like, so say I search for Django count query set by class or something. That clearly demands freshness because Django's constantly, there's a latest version. You want to get the latest Stack Exchange answer, the latest.
I was going to say, I do think that there's niche freshness, that the demand for freshness varies by niche. I do agree with that. Do you have to do that if you're ranking top 3 and there's no competitors coming in to knock you out? If that's the case, there's no reason to do a content upgrade. But if you're constantly fighting with a competitive cert where all the players are kind of jumping over each other every once in a while, then you definitely have to stick with it and constantly stay at the forefront for that topic. And that takes a lot of resources. I don't really think that niche site guys and authority site guys deal with that too much. But when you're in the short tail game, I think that constantly updated content is necessary.
I don't know. I mean, I think when you look at the money you make once your site starts to perform, it's not that much as a cost. Like, it might increase your content cost by like 8% a month or something to do that.
I think if you're able to build it into your standard operating procedure for your content creation, that's the smart man's game. Like, that's what you should be doing. And you're right. If you just build it in,
and is that something that you can help like your clients with? Like, say they order, 50 fresh articles a month with you. Is that something that your team can then say to you, "Well, we want to refresh"?
We're starting to get those requests, and unfortunately, we usually turn down. I guess you would call it content upgrades for articles that we didn't write, like where we weren't the.
Well, yeah, obviously, I mean ones you wrote yourself. Yeah.
Ones that we wrote, we'll go back and we'll try to even find the same writer that we used on the account and have him or her upgrade it. but this is still something that's in its infancy as far as being adopted by a wide audience. But yeah, that's definitely something we do.
Yeah, I think it's going to become more of a thing.
The other thing we're going to do is we're going to start taking our content hubs and scaling them to other platforms. So if I had a content hub on dog training, and dog training was my center article, and I had all the different things you can train your dog to do that all interlink to the main dog training article.
That was your main thing on the 24 hours.
Yeah, dog training.
I was like, wait a minute, I'm having deja vu. Check out Vin's video on the 24 hours of SEO. He was one of the, I think there were about 6 or 7 standout videos in the 24 hours. Vin's was definitely one of the ones that we've had the most positive comments about.
Thanks, man. I didn't even know that, but that's awesome.
Yeah, my clients enjoyed your video. I mean, I wish more of them would order content. Like, guys, it's no good just telling me you love Vin. Like, wordagents.com. Get some orders in, guys. Come on.
But yeah, we're using that concept, and once I've kind of solidified a hub and I can't really add any more supplementary content to it, and it's all up to date, we're going to want to bring it to other mediums. So we want to bring it to audio. We'll create a hub on an audio platform, maybe SoundCloud for the same topic, using the same exact information, maybe even just reading the blog post into a microphone, and dominate on the audio site. And we might even take it to video. Have somebody sit and describe the concept.
Present it,
yeah, exactly. And all that supplementary platform stuff on audio and video, that's all going to link back to the main hub page on my site too. So that's a goal. That's a pretty lofty goal, but that's eventually.
How's the interviews going?
For which?
You said like you were interviewing people in the niche and.
Oh yeah, we're just gonna add that to kind of like our editorial calendar. So I've got a few interviews set up, but I'm still building up some of the core content on that site. So I don't want to drop the interviews just yet because
taking it slow, yeah.
Yeah, it won't pack the same punch as it would as if I had some more content up on the site.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how that one goes because it was one of the big wins back when we were in the poker affiliate game.
Yeah, for the one interview I have up on the site, we're ranking #1 for the person's name. So it's actually one of our few #1 rankings, but that was pretty cool. And it only took about 3 weeks to get to #1 for that too.
Yeah. So and the thing is as well, you'll get links from people you couldn't buy these links, like published authors in the poker industry, like the people who wrote the first book on a topic came on our show, did an interview, linked to us. It's like you can't buy that. The guy's a millionaire. Like, what are you going to give him to link? I give you $500 to link to me. He's like, what are you talking about? Like, I play like where the small blind is $500. Like,
it's got to be a real relationship.
That has to be, and real relationships can form really quickly. Like you just have to be having a chat on a show like this, like or the 24 hours of SEO, and we've all made friends and new contacts from it. People that each of us knew separately, and it's stuff. You do real things. You build those real relationships, and interviews are a super cool way of showing that you actually care about them. Like I'm not going to just, write something like, oh, here's one of my suppliers. Yeah. You're going to be like, I'm going to get you on and we're going to talk about you specifically and we're going to really write that up well.
Yeah.
That's a much more powerful signal that you give a shit about them, which...
Yeah.
People like to give a shit about. I mean, most people do anyway.
We got complimented on the questions that we asked too, because we didn't pack the questions to get long tail keywords packed in there. But we asked
what would you consider to be the best cheap dog food island?
Yeah, exactly. we asked questions that was relevant to the person herself, and I could tell in her answers that she enjoyed it, and she kind of went into more in depth into her answer because it wasn't just this like surface level, like obvious question. So I think the strategy is going to work out well over the long run. But we have
it's definitely something we're going to be working in.
Yeah. We
you're
just
like
have some more basic.
you're like our free consultant on this show. That's why you guys should smash that subscribe button, because Garrett and I, we're experts on the links, and we're experts at the kind of social marketing that we do to grow our current business and that we use to grow our poker affiliate businesses, like all the video. And what we're not experts in is the kind of the authority site game,
Right.
which Vin has been playing in now very successfully for a while.
But I always look at
some of these little tips. We were doing it slightly wrong in the poker affiliate thing, because that's all just traffic. We were trying to get people in a chat room. We weren't focusing on the links. We weren't focusing on the content. Repurposing the interview, like all that repurposed content stuff is insanely valuable. Like if you have
I think that
format,
speaks to the power of growing like a. I know a lot of people call them tribes. Like you build your tribe, and it's just the colleagues that
finally read expert secrets.
Is that what that's from? The tribes? And
it wasn't him originally. He says in the book where he got it from, but that's the whole theme of the book, is building your tribe and making them. I've got my ClickFunnels t-shirt on.
There you go.
I'm actually wearing that for a reason, but I might explain later. See if we get to that one.
So yeah, if you surround yourself with people that are very knowledgeable about the specific thing that they do, it's like you have a little team around you, and you all help each other out, and everybody benefits. I know I learned a lot from you from the PR standpoint. It's kind of almost like a social engineering skill that you have there to get in where you want to be, and that doesn't just apply to link building. I use that in my forum case study that I'm doing now. We're just
used it on his wife.
Yeah, to get her to marry me. Obviously, that's the only way that's going to work.
Yeah. It seems like I feel like you've been married forever now, but it's only been like 2 months or something.
I know. No, me and Erin have been together. I met Erin when she was 18 and I was 21, and I'm 32 now. So we've been together for a while. But yeah, it does seem like the wedding was.
You see what, guys? Vin did it right. If you don't want a rotten apple, you pick one from the tree.
Yeah.
2 days after it's legal to pick it, of course.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, she was. Yeah. Anyway, what do we got going on Twitter here?
Oh, this one's pretty cool. So this is John Mueller doesn't seem to think it's a problem, but basically, if you haven't got anti-embed like code on your site to stop cross-browser embedding of iframes from your site, so I don't know. Does WordPress include this as standard? Because I know Django does. Like you can't iframe someone else's Django site on your site.
So if you use like just an iframe code and it just
like if I just took Word Agents and banged an iframe somewhere, does WordPress stop you doing that? I mean, Django. Yeah,
that's
I'm not enough on the technical stuff. I was hoping that. Obviously,
I haven't seen an iframe.
We're missing Garrett.
I would say I haven't seen an iframe anywhere.
Well, here's the cool thing with this is you can, if someone hasn't got their site so that you can't iframe them, you can just iframe them on your site and then run it through Google's fetch and render to get information on their meta, like their basically everything that Google gives you on their fetch and render. So like their tags, their meta stuff.
Oh yeah. I wonder if you could do that in mass and for an entire website or even.
Well, apparently, Screaming Frog were doing it as a kind of service type thing, and there's some interesting tweets here. It's kind of a security loophole, but basically, you want to have your X-Frames HTTP response header so that you can't do that. And I'm going to look into whether WordPress can do it. If WordPress doesn't have it set by default, you want to probably get a plugin or something to do that for you.
Yeah, or a Jared.
Because it's actually a big. when iframes were more common, people would use iframes a lot of the time to show their ads around your website and all this kind of stuff. There's a lot of JavaScripty ways of doing it now. Like you've probably seen, when people share things on social and it has their picture at the bottom, like Bill shared this, click Bill's affiliate link. Like they're using your content to advertise their shit. Iframes used to be the way people did that. Now, like, it doesn't matter what you do, you won't be able to stop people doing it that way because.
Right. There's some kind of plugin out there where people opt into it on your site, and then when you read other articles on other sites in the niche, like a little pop-up box comes up, and it has your commentary.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like it's like Bill shared this.
Yeah. That's pretty slick. And then, of course, there's a link in the commentary back to your site, so you're always...
Actually, there was one that I subscribed to for a while just to test. Like, it takes you to the page that you go to, and then a pop-down ad. Like you go to some sites and a slide-down ad appears to opt in. It's not theirs, it's yours. So you've shared it on social, they click the site, and then they get the slide-down ad, and it's your slide-down ad.
That's because...
So you can put on there, you can put their brand on there. I mean, this is Black Hat, obviously. I wouldn't do this. But you can put on there, opt in now to Cloudflare's email list.
Right. And it's because they installed something client-side that their browser allows.
Yeah, it's all JavaScript. It's client-side. Yeah.
Wow.
Super, super clever. So I mean that's Black Hat. Please don't do that. That's super annoying for people. They don't want to receive your bullshit emails. Like find a way to market to them properly. But it's kind of interesting that because people are on the site, they trust it already. That slide down happens. Get my report now. Bang, get the report, and then you're on someone else's email list. So you have to be super careful with that stuff because things don't always appear there. Your browser will tell you, of course, because you can see in the URL bar that you aren't where you think you are.
Right.
All the phishing scams have showed that people aren't really good at looking at their browser bars.
And I wouldn't even call that. That's in the gray area. That's in the gray, especially if you opt in to those call-up boxes that we were talking about before. If you're saying you want that commentary, then I don't see anything wrong with it.
Well, my suggestion was
the full screen map. That's obviously Black Hat, but
but yeah, I think it's kind of interesting how that's kind of developed over the years, the way technology. But yeah, I think you should try and avoid your site being iframed in someone else's site because there's some. I don't know the technical details well enough. It's just when we really miss Garrett or Jared being on the show because they're the technical on-site type.
Yeah.
It's like I'm a PR, sales, and marketing person like that. Called me a technical SEO.
I remember back in the day when MFA sites were all the rage, and you could still kind of do keyword stuffing, and early on.
Still can.
But
there are niches that are so competitive. The top sites still are just stuffed keywords, bold, italic, and underline on every one.
Yeah, and there were sites that were just iframe after iframe after iframe of other people's sites, and they're benefiting from their content. This was before duplicate content penalties, and these guys were just cleaning up. I can only imagine how much money those guys made back in like.
You can still fool the pay-per-click bot on like Google pay-per-click and stuff like that with spun content.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
So I'm not going to say how you do that.
Yeah. I don't even want to comment on that because I'm so far out of the shady stuff that
I wrote a script to do it for a client once. They paid generously for me to do that for them. So
is that just like a cloaking script to Google sees one site and
no, it was a combination of using human writers to generate enough unique content and then using a script to solve some of the other issues that Google picks up on. Which is the bit that I'm not going to talk about, but it involved a lot of human real spinning. Like it wasn't your like curly brackets, swap one word, and that'll definitely fool Google kind of nonsense. It was a combination of that, some real human intelligence, and a couple of clever tricks with the code.
Yeah. There was a time in Word Agents' history where we were selling manual syntax as a service because spinning was just so popular still that people didn't want to build their syntax files anymore or didn't want them auto-generated.
We had a client once who they didn't even bother doing proper spinning. They just swapped the identical article that they'd ordered from not Word Agents, but another similar content agency that doesn't exist anymore because it's a long time ago. They just literally just swapped the keywords out on each page. So it's like blah, 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 mobile phones, blah, blah, blah. And they would just have the bolded keyword that was all they would swap on each page.
Right.
Mobile phone repair Manchester, mobile phone repair Leeds, mobile phone repair.
That's what I would see with a lot of
and they said to me, well, your links aren't working. And I was like, well, all your pages are identical.
Yeah.
You never told me that before we started working with you.
The thing is that did work for a long time. And that was big in the satellite dish TV space, like Dish Network. There was all that affiliate offer was just getting spammed to high heaven. And people were just generating content for every zip code in the United States to target it, and it was the same article, just swapped out the zip code, the location, and some other.
I think, like we spoke about before, I think what Google needs to do, because the problem is, like, if you're doing pay-per-click, and that's the reason this bullshit that I was doing with the pay-per-click was in demand, was because your page score, your ad quality score, depends on the words on the page.
Right.
So if someone clicks an ad with cheap phone repair Manchester and they just get to your generic cheap phone repair page, they convert less well than if your page says cheap phone repair Manchester. But they don't really need different words on the page. But to get the quality score up, you need to have different words on the page. So I think with stuff like that, Google needs to have a programmatic way for you to show an optimized page to a user without having 400 different pages. Yeah. So like if you're a, like say you do tax returns for people who live in Tennessee. Right. There's a lot of districts in Nashville, say. I mean, I don't know how many counties there are or whatever, townships, but probably 50 or something, say, just in the greater Nashville area. The only solution right now is to have 50 pages, and you're going to make them all unique. You're going to make them have information about the township. There's a lot of bullshit wasting time for them not to be spam pages. Right. But you have to go through that because, one, you won't rank unless you go through that bullshit. Two, you won't convert unless you go through that bullshit because the person who clicked the link wants to get someone local with the local page, and you convert better if you have this bullshit page that's been really, if Google gave you some programmatic way to take, this is what the person's looking for, but they're going the opposite way. They're hiding the search queries from us. Mm-hmm. But what they need to do is give you the option to take what they've searched for. Like they think you're a good result for it. Let you show them the best possible page that you can possibly show them based on the information that Google has. And that's the real solution to this web spam problem, because the web spammers aren't spamming because they love spending. And Vin obviously would love to take the order for your 50 pages of different townships. But they're not giving that money to Vin because they love to give money to Vin.
Yeah,
or because it's any more useful to the end user. What they really need is a programmatic page that delivers the best experience to Google's customer, which is their core information plus the local information, which can just be dragged in separately programmatically.
Right. And without you set up a database. You write the content, it sits in a database, and based on the query, that's which one shows up on the page.
That's not web spam. It's actually, but as it is now, they have to write the 50 pages separately, and the shared information has to be rewritten.
You could probably do that now, right?
No reason.
So you could probably do that now, though, right? If you
Google doesn't tell you the search query that they're landing with unless it's pay-per-click. If it's an organic source, it's not provided. So
you can't call based on the query that was.
So you have to make the page first and rank that page for that query, and then you.
So since we're on the topic anyway, the dental client that I buy links for through you, they want to start expanding out to targeting cities around their main city, and the site itself is currently optimized.
I hope that's going well. That's going well, I hope.
Yeah, it sure is. It sure is. We're optimized the entire site for the one city that they currently exist in. So what would your suggestion be as far as what pages to add or modify to start ranking for the surrounding cities?
I mean, I guess is the intention is they travel from the surrounding cities to their one location, yeah?
Well, on Long Island, the cities are much smaller. It's only like 5 square miles or something like that.
Oh, so they're,
yeah, so it is really close. So
they're 5 minutes away.
Yeah. So, what do you think? Do we add those?
If they're not doing many, you just add them like /locations /.
Yeah.
But it has to be 100% unique. You can't repeat any, and you can't do too much of it.
Right.
If you add like 100 pages of different locations,
maybe just the 5 towns directly around.
Pick the biggest and most important.
Yeah, and now they're getting a little paranoid that they have these corporate dental services coming in, like Dental 365 and Smiles and stuff like that, which are really just kind of like walk-in dental clinics. So that they want to kind of transition their copy to copy that promotes like the family-owned vibe and the homegrown vibe. So we're working on that too. But I'm trying to explain to them that has zero bearing on their rankings and how much traffic they actually get.
It's about their conversions, isn't it? Like they.
Yeah, but you know what?
This is just both. I mean,
that. We can do both. But the family-owned stuff, that's just kind of like a guesstimation on their part that they think that adding this kind of verbiage would boost new clients and increasing clients. So we'll see. I gotta kind of.
Well, I mean, they know the people that they have currently. I mean, and you can make them prove it to you.
You know what happens.
Like you don't have to take their word for it. You can be like, well, show me your existing client. How do you know that they came to you because you were the family business? Because I know I'm more inclined to support an independent optician or something like that. Like my girlfriend is. Like she has glasses. She's not going to go to Specsavers. Like cheap glasses from fucking India or whatever. Like.
Yeah, you know what
it's just going to the family-run opticians because they actually do the test properly and they've got proper eye doctors in the place, and
it just feels good to support a local business too.
Oh, and it's barely more expensive. Yeah. It's insane. So it is important to some of their customers. It will be the only decision why they came there. So
they went to a dental.
You do have to bear in mind that, but you don't. But like you said, you don't know.
Hello.
You have to make them prove it to you.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, Garrett.
Yeah, they went to a dental conference for dental business owners, and there was a segment on dental business marketing, but it wasn't put on by a marketer, it was put on by a dentist. So they came back with all these wackadoo ideas about what they need to do right now.
Well, you need to kind of tone them down a little bit.
Yeah. So
we were actually going to launch a software product for dentists, but we decided to go with a different niche, so you're going to see us launch a different
the dental market has gotten extremely saturated in the past 12 to 18 months. It's pretty interesting to watch.
If I was going to do it, and you briefly told me what you guys were doing, if I was going to do that, I would just figure out what the highest profit margin local business is and go with the one that's the least competitive within a dollar amount of profit margin.
Well, we've gone for who's the least technologically savvy, but who can benefit the most from it because of where their real money's going to be made, and it wasn't dentists.
Yeah.
Dentists would have been the easiest to sign up initially on the basic contract, but it comes with a lot of complications like HIPAA. third-party providers. Yeah,
So,
it came with so many complications. You start seeing your margin eroded like crazy.
why you would have to have legal review?
Well, you have to sign the HIPAA contract if you're involved in the. It's massively not fun to host dentist sites and their booking thing, which is why they all outsource it to third parties. So if you're a software tool provider in the marketing space, in that space, you have to get a contract with one of the big providers of the bit that's HIPAA, where HIPAA compliance is needed. And then you need to have X number of dentists on your books before they'll talk to you. And
yeah, I was looking at
a lot of fun. And as been those dentists, it's not a ripe field of easy sales. Like he's got a client. He's got a client who's pretty unique in the space, and he's going to do really well because he's got someone in to actually tackle this stuff. Most of them have a slightly different view from Vin's client about what
I've gone to a couple dentist networking meetings with this client, and they don't see the value in purchasing services like this because they just don't see the value. That they're happy with their current number of clients and their growth rate. And,
have you guys ever tried to negotiate with a dentist on stuff?
Well, our dentists are free, so.
Oh yeah, but I guess so. Well, the reason I ask is like apparently that's a thing you're supposed to do with some of like the high end stuff. Like when I was a kid, I broke one of my front teeth, and then I had them put a veneer on it. My parents did, which isn't where you replace the whole tooth or get a crown. They just
I know.
Yeah, they fill it in, and then I broke it again a few years later when I crashed my snowmobile, and then a couple of years ago I broke it again. And yeah, I think I told you, Steve, how much it costs to have a full crown put on. And you know, I've never spent that much money on my mouth other than braces, which, you know, I didn't pay for either when I was a kid. But it was just weird, you know, at the time I didn't even think of it, but the dentist was just like, I'm sitting in the chair, he's like, how does, you know, I don't know what it was, like $3,100 sound? And I was just like, okay, assuming that's just what it costs. But now looking back at it and talking to other people, they're like, oh, that was like the opening negotiation. You should have had that for like $2,000.
Yeah, but he's already given you the the what's he called?
Yeah, exactly.
The laughing gas.
Yeah.
Well, that's the benefit of working with a small business, just in general. Just because when you're dealing with the guy that sets the prices, anything's negotiable.
But that's my other point. That's why you trust like a family-run dentist, like someone who you wants your business for life. It's like your family-run mechanics or whatever. Like the guy we use. Sometimes like we've taken. I mean, I've bought Ali a new car since then, but like the old car that she had when just after we got together, like it was an old car, it needed repairs. Like sometimes he's like, oh, this just took me like 2 minutes, I'm not gonna bother charging you and stuff, because it's a family run business. He's playing the long game. He knows that like everyone you know is going to use him in a year's time. Right. Whereas like your big corporate garage is like, how does 3,100 sound now that I've given you some drugs? Like, so I think you should entertain his logic a little bit then.
Yeah.
But make him prove it to you a little bit as well.
Well, you know, he hired like a recent graduate from marketing school, and she's kind of doing like the social media and the basic direct mail stuff that most dentists will do. And she actually,
well.
She brought it up to me, so I had to kind of ask. I was like, "Is this based off data that you have, or is this just a hunch?" And then there was kind of like silence in the conversation.
Yeah, I was going to say, you haven't heard back from her since.
No, definitely not.
Well, she has no idea. I mean, I agree with Gary Vaynerchuk on his view on marketing education. It's to use a poker phrase, it's lol doncuments.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an absolute joke. I mean, if these people that you're supposed to take these people seriously that have taken tenure for a couple of $100,000 a year, And they're good marketers. Give me a fucking break. If they knew what they were doing, they'd be millionaires.
Yeah, it's surprising how raw these kids come out of school are right now when they come, with a professional degree. It's really just
in something like marketing.
Marketing or even finance. Unless you're at a top tier finance school, you're not coming out ready to trade. You're not coming out.
It is really surprising. You're exactly right. I remember, when I was in school, I went to a state school, but my roommate, he went to school for finance, and he would ask me questions about, and I'm not a knowledgeable investor. I know basic stuff, but he'd ask me questions. I'm doing this and this assignment. What do you think? And I'm like, I don't know. Aren't you the one that's graduating in 2 months with a degree in finance and should probably know, Econ 300 stuff?
Right. Yeah, and you know what? I would have never identified that happening if I wasn't a business owner myself, and if I didn't have these.
The problem is they're not preparing you for day-to-day activities, and they're definitely not preparing you for the job that she's got. I did accountancy and finance as my degree. When I finished my degree, if I was working in a big multinational trying to work out how to value take Tate and Lyle, one of the world's biggest sugar companies, I knew how to do the accounting and the fucking books on their fucking sugar production line and their waste syrup that's at the bottom and all this kind of shit.
Right.
I still can't do my own books for this company we've got now. I have no idea how you do a small business's books. They're preparing you to get a job at a big company.
Right.
That's all they're doing. They're making you an employee for someone. They're not preparing you to be an entrepreneur, a business person, to do anything meaningful
or just have basic financial literacy.
They're not teaching you any of that shit. I still don't fucking I tried doing my own books one year to see if I could beat my accountant. He beat me by £4,560. And
how
he
much
only
did he charge you?
1,500.
Okay.
So I pay him 1,500, and he beats the best I could do myself with my accounting and finance degree by $4,000. It's yeah. Not that that's why I did the degree. I mean, I just did a degree because specifically it's a few years of not working, right? So
every new graduate in marketing that I speak to, it kind of just seems like their marketing school was just a giant vocabulary test of marketing terms. And then
do you know who you can blame for that? Michael Porter at Harvard. He was Harvard, wasn't he, Michael Porter?
I don't know.
I think he was Harvard.
They just understand basic marketing.
Basically, Porter, everything in marketing, you draw a 2x2 square grid, and everything goes into one of the squares.
Yeah.
So what is this fucking bullshit?
So what do they teach them, if you're getting a 4-year degree these days in marketing? I mean, are they teaching, actionable, how to actually manage, social media stuff? Because
no,
the stuff that people learned in marketing 20 years ago doesn't work.
That would be under digital
product-based.
That would be under digital marketing and.
So what are you getting out of the marketing degree? Because
most of what they teach you in marketing is what they think is real marketing. So
but it doesn't work anymore.
The medium doesn't matter, Garrett. What are you, naive? You just design the perfect product market fit, and then you market it across all your channels.
So we're going to market it on ABC, which no 20-year-old watches.
Exactly.
It's a lot of jargon words
exactly. You're a genius, Garrett. You just passed your marketing degree. To be honest, I reckon Garrett could just do a marketing degree. Just if they would let him not do the coursework and just turn up for the exam, he would just pass without knowing what anything was taught.
Probably not, because Vin said, I don't know the vocabulary words.
You know what drives me insane, though?
No. If you answered sarcastically for all the answers, you would get a first. You'd get a first-class degree. Your sarcastic answer is exactly what they want you to say. You'd be like, yeah, well, we're going to market this on all channels the same. So we're going to make a video for ABC and we'll put it on YouTube.
What drives me insane, and it doesn't make much sense to me, is the amount of disdain that quote-unquote real marketers have for the digital marketing community. And
Because digital marketing will make more money than them.
So it's clearly because that a guy that has a community college education is, outpacing somebody that spent $250,000 on a university education. And instead of them trying to kind of adopt the tactics that are working so well,
I can see 2 points of view on that, because
they scoff at them, and
there are so many shitty digital marketers where I can see good marketers get pissed, but I can also definitely see your point where they're not adapting, so they have to
put it this way.
somebody.
I know this girl.
Well, even the shitty people though, they market products that don't exist and are just complete bullshit, and they sell them.
Well, when I say shitty, I mean it's like the 95% of the digital marketing pool of people.
Oh, you mean like
don't
like
make
your local SEO consultant type guy? Yeah.
SEO Sam.
Yeah.
SEO Sam.
But he probably makes money.
Oh yeah.
I know this girl that went to marketing school. She went to marketing university, and she worked for a small agency for a while, making $40,000 a year for probably 5 years. Now she sets off on her own, and she has a few clients, and she spends all day making her social properties as aesthetically pleasing as possible, and she spends all day making herself looking aesthetically pleasing as possible. And she might make $60,000 a year, but she still has the balls to look down her nose at me and scoff at me because I'm using a computer and I wear my pajamas all day. And,
exactly.
It doesn't fit the mold that she has envisioned for a marketer. It just it blows my mind. It's all about perception, is what it is, and I guess that's exactly what marketing is.
But she still doesn't make any money.
I think you shouldn't do a YouTube show in your pajamas, man.
No. Well, you guys can't see me from the waist down right now, so you never know.
Well, it's kind of like with me.
I literally just have this T-shirt on.
People
like a newsreader in the 70s.
And you're sitting on a tree stump, and your desk is full of is just made of cardboard boxes.
It's just something I don't get with people like that, because when I talk to people around here, they're like, "Oh, well, if you're really making so much money, why aren't you driving like a $70,000 pickup?" I'm like, I could afford to if I wanted to, but I also don't really care. I drive a 21-year-old Acura.
That's
your car is the most comfortable car I have ever been for a ride in. Like, if I had your car, they would drag it out of my cold dead hands.
Well, yeah, that's just what's going to happen. Like, it's a 97 with 150,000 miles on it. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, your car is literally the most comfortable car I've ever ridden in. I was like, wow, they made cars like this.
Last year, I test drove a new Acura.
They don't make them like this anymore.
I test drove a new RL.
It's an 8-year-old Toyota Corolla, which is, a compact economy car.
I didn't even drive a car.
Yeah, I'm just going to hang on to it until it dies, because I see zero reason in purchasing a fancy luxury car.
Yeah.
Especially since I work from home. I drive twice a week, 3 times a week anyway.
Well, if I'm going out, I'm going to a meeting. If I'm going to a meeting, I'm going to be drinking a bottle of wine. I can't really be driving to the meeting. It's like,
and that's why Uber exists.
Yeah, Uber is magic. I mean,
I'll spend the money on an Uber Black before I buy any car.
Exactly. Yeah.
Steve, where you live, is it like a city environment, or is it more a suburb?
It's a small town, really quite a small town.
I think like 40,000 people live there.
Yeah, it's a tiny town.
I guess for you.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, Garrett lives properly in the countryside, so like, not comparable, but
Garrett doesn't even have walls. He uses parachute material to separate one giant house.
all the names are all just together. Like, they just unzip where they all want to get together and drink moonshine.
Well, I think
we should probably move on to the next news story.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys aren't even done with the news. It's been an hour and a half.
We'd have a pretty relaxed pace on the show. Like, without you nagging us, we've had a much more good time. I mean, I think the viewers have been really enjoying it so far.
Yeah, we had about an hour of banter before we even got on to.
No, it was 20 minutes. Come on, that's it.
All right.
So how Google is tracking Safari users on third-party sites. So basically, Google addicts. Apple wanted to stop this shit. Google's found clever ways to continue to track you if you're an Apple user.
I didn't get to read this one. How are they doing it?
That's the TLDR. Like,
yeah.
It's just all the stuff they do, like trying to identify your machine, identify your IP, just all the stuff Google always does. I think, I'm like you, Ben, like what you said earlier, like if you opt into this thing and you actually want to receive the email, that's not really black hat, that's just kind of a gray area. I think when a software provider, a hardware provider like Apple has specifically said, we don't want our users being tracked this way, and Google's gone and dicked around like this, it's kind of like, well, you're in the black hat area now.
Right.
Like they're circumventing what is a legal and perfectly reasonable restriction on what information they want their operating system to leak. So
interesting. Well, I shared
that one because you know me, I hate the whole like don't be evil bullshit Google spreads. It's like, well, stop being evil then, and we might believe you.
Right.
Oh, when I was upstairs, I saw the FCC finally gave an official date that they're going to end net neutrality, but I didn't see what date it was.
Yeah, nothing will happen. I think what we predicted on the show, like there was no net neutrality before, going back like to when we first experienced
2015 is when it started.
Yeah, like there was no net neutrality before, and there's not like what's.
Well, what winds me up is like, well, I'm gonna have to pay more to do this. It's like, well, if it's that big of a deal, just don't pay for it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah, your Netflix price might go up $5.
The worst thing that's going to happen is there's going to be really annoying people that you feel obligated to be friends with on Facebook, sharing these memes about net neutrality that shows that Comcast raised their prices and cut their employment, and this is a result of net neutrality. And then it becomes an echo chamber on social media and it gains steam, but it really means nothing because what a business doesn't always tie into net neutrality.
I'm not a big fan of net neutrality because just for the same reasons Ben's saying there, like through his joke, it's like it's a business, and like if YouTube can't pay its way, YouTube can't pay its way. But what's Google going to do? They're going to do a deal with cable companies, and you're going to get like an unlimited YouTube cable deal. So is that going to be tough on new streaming channels? Yeah, but that's just how economics works. That's how the free market works.
What the proponents of net neutrality are doing is they're just leveraging the ignorance of the masses that don't understand that, and they're just using fear mongering as a marketing tactic to push net neutrality. And people
net neutrality was wrong in the sense that it didn't enforce what really matters anyway. Like if bandwidth is going to be sold to end consumers as pure bandwidth, it should be neutral because you should be able to just download whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, it was just another.
But that was never the way it worked. Like take the UK where we're supposed to have had that net neutrality bullshit, and they're like, we don't.
Yeah.
Like if you were torrenting, like every fucking cable company in the country throttles torrenting.
Right.
And like that does. I mean, obviously, some people that are torrenting are downloading pirated bullshit. But some of us are just trying to get our like the new Linux distro as fast as possible, and if you torrent it, you get it like at your full fucking speed. If you download it from a server when it's just fucking come out, you're in a queue. Like everyone's downloading it, so you have to wait fucking ages.
Well, anytime a government intervenes in anything, you're going to have the casualties like the people that are doing nothing wrong. And they're just trying to use it the proper way. And
the only time I'm in favor of government intervention is where the leverage is massively in favor of the company. So like healthcare Like, you guys pay so much for healthcare because you have more money than us Europeans, and you don't want to die just as much. So, like, if I'm a company and I'm like, well, you know, these guys don't want to die, but they've got more money, what should I charge them? The fair price or a little bit more? Because I'm going to charge them a little bit more. Like, I think when the leverage is massively in the favor of the company, you have to have government regulation, or you'll never get a free market, or a fair market, I should say. The healthcare system in America is a perfect demonstration of an extremely leveraged, where you have two choices: die or pay. They have one choice: charge you as much as possible, so you can just about afford it and not die.
Right.
That's not the fair price for healthcare. But where there's a relatively free and fair market, the fair market does work pretty well. But when it's life and death,
yeah, and then when it's life and death,
some fails in life and death.
When government,
you will pay any amount of money to avoid dying.
Yeah,
in 4 days' time. Like, if I have one pill that'll save you,
right,
and I say, give me $3 million for this pill. If you had the money, you'd give it to me.
For sure.
Fair market value of the pill might be £27, and that might be.
And I do.
That's what's ridiculous about it. That might be the actual price that the company that makes that pill sells it to the National Health Service in Britain for.
But the unfortunate part of that is, I do agree with you that that's a clear instance where government regulation would be necessary. But as soon as you open the door to the government, now you're allowing them to decide what they think is right for you, and that's.
And I have written to my MP 4 times about that recently, because I disagree enormously that private citizens who can afford different healthcare options should be able to be denied it for their children by the NHS. And for those of you who've been following the news in the UK recently, have probably seen some horrific stories.
Yeah.
And it's an embarrassment to our country that these stories have happened, where little children have died, and they may have died anyway, but there were legitimate doctors in countries that we would consider to be countries that had competent doctors, like Italy, America, obviously the best doctors in the world. I mean, I hate to admit it, but you guys do. And parents who could afford it weren't allowed to take the children for treatment there, because the NHS doctors decided that it was in the best interest of the children to die.
And they physically restricted them.
And they physically restricted it. Yeah. They like the helicopter, like the Pope, the honest to God fucking Pope sent this private transport helicopter to the UK ready to take this kid to Italy, where he granted them Italian citizenship. And the Italian doctors were ready to try this experimental treatment, and our country murdered them. So I agree 100% with Vin's point that with absolute power comes absolute corruption.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it needs to be provided privately, but under strict regulation. There's no private company is going to be like, oh, you want to alleviate us completely of financial liability for this and take the kid to Italy?
I just think
you give a government absolute power, and you've got these, and then the hospital administrators are saying, oh, we're outraged that people are sending us obnoxious messages about how we deserve to die and all this kind of stuff. It's like, you murdered a child. There was a doctor in Italy waiting to receive the child. The Pope sent his helicopter to pick the child up.
Yeah.
And you murdered the child instead.
It'll be swept under the rug in 2 news cycles from now anyway. No, people will forget.
No, I think the anger's building up over here pretty much. I mean, for someone to actually talk about politics is it's getting pretty hardcore, because I
feel you.
I agree with Ben's point completely. Like, it can't be our system, but it can't be your system either. It has to be the government has to be able to impose price controls so that you guys aren't being charged retarded amounts of money. Like, Garrett sent me a list of tests he had done I can't remember what you told me your health insurance provider charged, but it was some retarded amount, like $20,000 or something, and then you had to pay your like
Deductible.
thousands of dollars deductible. I asked a friend of mine who works at the NHS, like I gave her the list and said, what do you charge the government for this? She's a nurse. And she's like, yeah, we charge the government £27.50 for this battery of tests.
Wow.
£27.50. His deductible was $500, and his insurance company charged thousands.
My deductible every year is like $1,000. And anyway, we can go on and on about this, but
let's move on to the Quora.
Well, we have a couple more pieces of news if you want to do that, or we can jump in the Quora.
I thought that was the last one. What have we got?
Google adds a clear button. I don't know who added this.
Google. Oh, yeah, do that one. Who added this one?
I guess that's Garrett. That's all you, buddy.
Yeah, you're the local guy, Garrett. What's going on here?
I added this one. I don't remember. Give me a second.
It might have been me, but this is definitely.
I could do it. It's a quick one. Basically, Google added a new feature to Google My Business for people that are really optimizing their Google My Business page, where they have a clear button where you can now clear all attributes, all of the same attribute every time it's used on the page with the click of one button. So it's just a cool little feature upgrade for, I guess, I want to say GMB power users. You now have this clear button in your control panel to, I guess, change a single attribute page-wide. That's the long and short of it.
Now that Garrett's back, I'm going to say, like, with the kind of orange shade he's got going on there, it looks like he's wearing a tangerine speedo, and I really wish I could put an ass out in Garrett's dictionary.
Orange? Oh, that's right.
You know, in gym class in like second grade, when you would sit underneath the parachute for the whole class, and I just envision you in a giant air bubble of a parachute right now, or a giant tent that has like multiple zippered rooms.
Why?
There's an awful lot of orange light. Has your
does
LED
the webcam on Skype not look very good?
You look very, very orange.
Yeah, I haven't adjusted that one at all.
Oh, I forget that nobody else can see the backdrop, and we just see the gorgeous.
Well, you can see it on YouTube, but it's just a tiny little square.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. All right,
I had to get. That was Jason. Thank you for sending in the word of the day, and he actually was fair. Like, he sent in 2 words of the day. He sent in the one for me and Vin, and because, like, obviously put an arset in Garrett's dictionary is really hard for Garrett to say, he sent in tangerine speedo for Garrett.
I was just watching that Seinfeld episode yesterday where that Jimmy guy, he always talks in the first person where he's like, Jimmy likes this, Jimmy doesn't like that. I guess I could have done that, but
well, I always forget about the word of the day until this part of the show when I'm looking.
Well, Garrett beats us like every time. He gets it in the first 2 minutes normally.
I know.
Because he wasn't around, like, we kind of got a chance this week.
I think I got one. I think the week we had Spurious was the one that I was able to get in there.
When it was a proper word.
Yeah.
If you guys send in a proper word, Vin will beat us because he'll work it into. He'll show you what a real writer does with Spurious.
Steve, did you want to cover this main topic at all, or you want to skip that?
Let's do the Quora question, because that was.
All right, cool.
Let me just quickly get those up.
Quora.
Yeah. So here's one that we kind of touched on. It's why I kind of wrapped up what we were saying earlier, Vin. Is it too late to get into digital marketing?
No.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's just changing, and you need to be prepared. I think a lot of people get stuck into it thinking, I'm going to read all this stuff that's been floating around for the last 10 years and expect it to work, but then after they invest all this time, they're like, I'm pretty much right where I started because I'm still not looking ahead.
Yeah,
you got to start somewhere, but
the barrier to entry is higher.
Yeah.
I think guys like us, because we really have been around since the beginning of digital marketing, so we have the benefit.
That far, but we definitely got in during the kind of bloom period. Or
yeah, for sure. And I think that benefits us because we're able to look back and see all the different changes that have happened over the past 10 or 15 years, and see the common trends in those changes, and that'll help us predict a little bit what's going to happen next. But I think for somebody coming in new, it's not so difficult, but there's a little bit of an education period. But once you're in the game and you keep up with everything, it's just like any other job.
And second one for me is, where would you think would be best to start learning digital marketing now? And I'll give you my answer if it'll load. So I said Distilled U, because they have a lot of technical stuff, and you also get like free access to all of their conference videos. So you haven't got to spend all of that huge money on conferences. It's like X a month. It's some tiny amount. I can't remember what it is now, like $20 or something. And you get like all of their conference videos plus their like technical on-page writers analysis. Build a Society digital crash course, completely free. Pretty insane the amount of value that's in that. Gary Vaynerchuk's Jab, 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 Right Hook, because that'll teach you a lot about advertising. And Russell Brunson's .com Secrets, because that'll teach you about like, the kind of aggressive part of marketing and funnels and just raw converting people.
Okay.
Cool. Anything to add?
I think you guys
definitely read.
Are you reading something, Garrett, right now?
Yeah.
You look like an angry monkey.
Well, I was reading a bunch of really.
Like an angry monkey.
I was reading a bunch of really stupid Quora questions, and I think I found a decent one.
Okay, go
on. What have been the changes in Google's search algorithm? How have they improved the user's experience and affected SEO optimization?
Go on, Vin. That's one for you.
One more time there, Garrett. I was reading Quora. Go ahead.
What have been the changes in Google's search algorithm, and how have they improved the user's experience and affected SEO optimization?
Well, there's been a lot of Google algorithm updates over the years. Probably too many to mention in a single answer. But essentially, the Google has and always has focused on giving the user the best answer to their query, and that just comes down to user experience. Even if you're doing technical SEO, it's all based around the bottom line, which is giving the user their best experience. So any change that they make in their algorithm is based around giving the user exactly what they want as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I think a lot of people forget that Google is a business and they need to make money, and they make 90% of their money through serving ads. And the ability to serve ads is based on people trusting their search engine to give them the answers that, I don't know if they expect is the right term, but I guess you know what I mean.
I think it's what they...
and if they're not showing those relevant answers, people aren't going to use their search engine, which means they can't charge for ads because no one's using the search engine, and I'm not going to advertise there.
Right.
So it's absolutely in their best interest to, I don't like to use the word optimize, but optimize for the best user experience, because otherwise I'll just go use whatever is going to be better,
Yeah, and essentially just an algorithm update is just pushing the hand of the marketer to change their tactic to something that's going to better benefit the user.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I mean, like, my perspective on it's been is that we haven't really had to change anything. I mean, except on the spam side, like where we knew we were spamming Google. Like, I mean, we talked a few episodes ago about sites that we'd all had in the past where we're making easy money through just pure spam. But like, we knew what we were doing with that was pure spam.
I agree with you.
In terms of real marketing, we haven't had to change anything. You pitch good content, you write good content, you get real people to link to you, you serve the Google user with great content. If you were doing that 20 years ago, you'd have been annihilating it. If you're doing it now, there's a bunch of people competing with you if you figured it out too, that they should try and please the end user. But there hasn't been an actual algorithm change in Google, I don't think, ever.
You
all
know,
they've done is eliminate spam.
Yeah. So
like their kind of high level psychological objective has been identical from the beginning.
I agree with you 100%. Again, it comes down to perspective. Like a guy like me that joined with the niche sites and the authority sites, and that's how I made money. That was my first exposure to real marketing, and my primary focus was to exploit the search engines and find loopholes and make my money by using tactics that most people didn't know about. But Google has come a long way in identifying those tactics and getting ahead of them. So at the end of the day, it seems like, for me, it seemed like a big shift from going from these tactics and strategies to exploit Google to just creating value. And if you just create value, that's been the same since the beginning of marketing, since the beginning of trying to persuade somebody to take an action. So yeah, you're right about that. Cool. We good?
Yeah,
we're good. Did any of you find anything interesting on DuckDuckGo except for what we chatted about at the beginning, like the fact that John was right and you can just do all your coding searches on DuckDuckGo now and they're really good?
No, I didn't look for anything.
Yeah, it's really hard to find weird ones like that guy tweeted, like with the politics stuff. I don't think any of us are political enough to kind of feel like we're bubbled politically or whatever. Like, it's like
I wanted to look. I totally failed at doing it. I wanted to look and try to hypothesize why. Because I remember last week I looked, and our skin site that ranks for stuff on Google doesn't rank for stuff on DuckDuckGo for the most part. And I wanted to look in and just see if I could hypothesize why.
We were talking about that last week.
Yeah.
And my new sites aren't ranking for the keywords I'm targeting on DuckDuckGo. But they're new. They're with, a year and a half old. But I look at my old authority site that I sold, and that's not ranking anywhere either. And that site is actually still dominating for the niche that it targets. So it's kind of surprising. It's not. It's definitely not an age thing. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's really interesting. If anyone knows, send me a tweet at SD Brownlee or at Word Agents or at, I forget what Garrett's is.
Angry Monkey.
Garrett Pilato.
Give us a tweet if you figured out, like, because, some of these sites are killing it on Bing and Yahoo.
Or even if you have a good case study that we can read about ranking and stuff.
Yeah, like send your case study over. We'll get you on the show.
Like we were talking about last week, where, the whole idea is that Google has so much more search traffic, but when you look at it, the people that use something like Bing, they're doing less searches. It's still the same amount of people versus Google. They do more searches. That's another thing I wanted to do this week. Yeah, Hammond, yeah. That's something else I wanted to look at this week, but of course I didn't get to it. I have no idea where our sites rank on Bing either. And, I mainly use Jetpack for tracking traffic because it's just direct built in there and I don't have to deal with Google. But it doesn't say we get much traffic from Bing ever, so I'm going to assume we don't get much. But I think I need to look at those rankings and because who knows? Might be throwing away quite a bit of money.
I'm still using a rank tracker. I still use Certbook.
Do
they do
Bing? I remember Certbook.
Yeah.
That's some serious retro shit.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
We used that back in the poker days, man.
Yeah. I still
that's 10
have,
years. That's 2009 derived shit right there.
I still have
if you guys haven't checked it out, check out derived 2009 Bing Lang Lao.
Does Surffox do Bing?
What's that? Surffox? I'm not sure.
It used to. I don't know if it does anymore.
Yeah, I just logged it. I don't know if I've ever reviewed Surffox, but it's a really decent. It's lightweight. It doesn't have the power that Surfoo or Ahrefs has or anything like that. But if you want really fresh, updated rank tracking, they're one of the best that I've used. like they update every day, and you can actually force. These days, you can force a live refresh, and it'll recrawl. So it's cool, but it's like really just tracking, rank tracking. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really important for those of you guys who are like client SEOs, and your client's like, "Oh, I'm totally fucked," and you've got yesterday's rankings.
Oh yeah, they do. They still do Bing. Yeah, so I should dump some stuff in there.
You can click the button on CertFox to get an instant update and see what your client's seeing, and be like, "Oh no, don't worry, you're still okay here."
Yeah, I typically see that rankings on Bing and Yahoo trail Google about 6 to 12 months. I don't know why.
If you buy an exact match domain, it's the opposite way around.
Yeah.
You can rank number 1 on Yahoo and Bing still. Exact match domain. Pump it out.
And that's the traffic on those search engines are perfect for those EMD domains too, because probably a little less sophisticated when it comes to the internet.
A little bit less sophisticated. Like if you're number 1, they're clicking on you and they're buying your shit no matter what. Because
that's the thing. I didn't want to come out and say it, but like the general consensus of people using something like Internet Explorer, when you don't have like the knowledge depth, it's.
Anyway, I think that's everything, right, guys?
I think so.
Well, I just had one last thing I wanted to talk about. What was like instead of the DuckDuckGo main topics, I know we'd all struggled with it. Was just around. It's a guest post I'm actually doing, and it might be on. Well, I won't say where it might be because it's up to them whether they will publish it somewhere anyway. It's just around like a lot of since our brand's grown on the link building side, we're getting a lot of people. And I don't know, Vin can share his thoughts on how he handles these kind of people as well. As our brand's grown, we get a lot more people coming to us who don't know what they're doing, or just a broader reach of people, and they're like, "Well, we're going to just buy 5 links and see what happens."
Yeah.
They're a site that has 200 links. They're going to buy 5, and they expect there to be some magic, measurable. It'd be like saying to Vin, "Oh, we've got a 1,000-page site. We're going to get like 4 pages rewritten, and we'll judge you on."
Yeah.
We'll judge you on that in a week's time. It's like that kind of insanity. And we've actually started saying to those people recently, just this year, because we had the odd person like that before, but they were just like statistically not significant. Like we'd have the odd person come order 5 links from us and disappear, and we never hear from them again. And then we'd eventually get hold of them, and they'd be like, "Wow, we didn't get much of a pop."
Well, you don't say.
And you'd look, and it's like, you had 200 links, you added like 2.5%.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, your competitors were adding 20 links a month, so you were falling further behind. So what did you expect to happen? You fell further behind. So we've actually started saying to these people now, like, here's the process you need to go through to work out what you actually need before we take their first order. Like, look at your competitors, and if you can't buy that number of links, or you can't buy plus do in-house that number of links, you need to think about where you're going to make money in your niche, because you're just going to keep falling behind.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go on. It's just education, and I think that you're going to be a better business owner if you're able to convert those newbies to clients and keep them around because you educated them properly. And there's a right way and wrong way to do it.
Yeah, and I'd rather not take their 5 links money if that's all they're going to spend, because we don't make any money on that anyway. But it's obviously a lot of money to them. Right. And they're not going to get anything from it. If your budget is 5 links, if your budget is 20 pages of content, how do you think you're going to compete with people who are spending proper money and going at it to try and dominate your niche?
So what we do this for objections and during the prospecting and sales process, and we also do it for what you're talking about, just for education questions. Like a lot of people innocently are asking me for education and consulting, I just don't have the time to do it on a client by client basis. So what we do is I keep a list of all the common questions that I get, and eventually I'll be creating a knowledge base on the Word Agent's website. And
That's a good idea.
And then anybody that's an account manager, anybody that touches a client, they'll be trained to identify these newbies or guys that are looking for education and point them to the appropriate guide on the knowledge base.
We're working towards that. I mean, most of ours are not necessarily on our own site, because I'll write a really good piece, and if someone with a really big audience wants to publish it instead of me, then so I might be sending them somewhere else.
And you could also write. You could always write multiple variations of the same guide too.
Well, I don't mind sending someone to a Builder Society article or brand builders or anywhere. It doesn't really matter where the article is. But building those knowledge-based articles wherever you put them. You should put them on. If you haven't got relationships and you've got nowhere else to put them, get them on your site immediately, because for your sales team, it's like, oh, yeah, read this. And every sales chat I have, there's one article I share 100% of the time, which is my in URL equals guest post is insane for building links. But that's what everyone else is doing.
What happens is when you send these potential clients to these articles, you end up converting a lot fewer of them. But that's a good thing, because
it weeds out. It weeds them out.
When you make a sale of 5 links to a guy that has no idea what he's doing, that guy is apt, or there's a high potential that guy's going to leave you a negative review.
Well, the thing is, we don't make any money, and it wasn't a good spend for him, because he's 100 links behind his competitors.
Right.
So he needs to build 100 links, not 5.
So his lack of education is going to make him think that your service was the reason why he isn't.
Well, it's better for both of you if he doesn't buy those 5 links. So reducing your own conversion rate can be really good for you, and it can be really good for the people who would have bought it. And it's something we've become more aware of, because I mean, Garrett remembers when we first started this business, all of our clients were people who knew me personally.
And you know what?
And then we started building a real brand. And now we get random people that I have no idea who they are. Garrett has no idea who they are. We're just speaking to them for the first time. The last thing we want to do is have someone waste their money on us.
Right.
Because we don't make any money off one-off orders anyway. You barely make. You start an hour.
Well, that's the thing.
Even if it's 10 links, you barely make $100 profit.
I want to work with people for life, and so do you, and I'm sure Vin does as well. I'm not interested in working with you on 5 links and having you disappear. Because like Steve said, it's not the biggest point, but 1, we're just not making any money. And then 2, it's like, I put in a lot of effort, and so does Steve, and so does Vin, into managing your account and the time that goes into it, and making sure you're satisfied. It's like there's no reward in that for any of us to do $1,000 or $2,000 worth of work and then you just disappear. It's like we didn't help you grow, and you didn't grow. I don't want to deal with that. No one wants to deal with that.
And when you pre-sell, and that's essentially what we're doing, we're pre-selling the lead by sending them to the knowledge base article. And the guys that come back and after reading that and actually do buy from you, they're going to be that much more happy with your service and more prone.
Well, and the thing is, when you send them to that stuff first, there is no sales process. They have a couple of questions and then they ask for the invoice.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I don't think in this industry you want to be selling to people unless you're a scammer with some bullshit course or something.
Yeah.
Well, I tell people we're about...
You want to be looking at, like Vin said, you want to be looking at the people that are going to be your long-term partners.
Yeah. I mean, I am considering, it's on the table, that we're going to build a local blogging subscription for local businesses. And then I would be prospecting and selling based on, local business owner lists and shit like that.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be selling someone like you found someone who needs, you know, $2,000 a month worth of content to catch up. You wouldn't push him to buy your $300 package, would you? Like,
no, I'm not going to force a what do they call it, square peg through a round hole.
You're looking for the right fit because you want people who. I mean, like some of the reviews we get are insane. I want those people to be our clients, people who know what they need. They have the right estimate. I mean, because we don't do consulting anymore, but I'll give you an estimate. Like, I'll have a quick look on Ahrefs for 5 minutes at your competitors, and I'll say, look, I think you need about 20 a month. And that's why I'm doing the guest post, and I hope that it does end up being a guest post there because they've got a big audience. But if not, it'll be on Marginally Coherent. But if you follow my process, which Garrett has been a huge part of us developing, like he spent so much time analyzing these numbers on the different metrics tools, and I don't think I would have ever gone. Well, no, I know I would never have gone through it if I hadn't met Garrett. Like Garrett really drove us to kind of understand like how easy it is to measure some of this stuff. You can literally measure how far behind you are and give a really good estimate of what you need to move ahead just on pure links, all other things being equal. Now, you can be more ahead in other areas, like your content can genuinely be the best in your niche.
Well, you know, it's funny you say that because I talk to people because you're like, well, I honestly don't think I need that good of links. I'm like, you very well may not. But my really good thing that I do is building links. So, like you just said, everything equal. This is how many links I'm going to build, and I know I'm going to pass you. Versus, yeah, sure, you can probably do better content or better on-site, and then you can save money on links, but you've dedicated your time to what you're good at. This is just links, and I will pass you with links, nothing else.
Yeah. It's in the digital marketing economy or the marketplace, the idea of a specialist agency is really literal. I mean,
there's three things, aren't there? There's on-site technical, on-site words, and links.
Right.
I mean, basically,
what about
Google says there's
social signals and
there's no other. There are no other signals.
Map embeds and
there are no other signals, Garrett. There's on-site technical.
I hear citations don't work anymore.
Speed and all that kind of stuff. There's on-site content, and there's links. Nothing else matters. Everything else is under like 3-4%. So like if you're a $1 million a month company, like you can make a lot of extra money if you pay someone $50,000 to sort out like an extra 1% here and there on some of these other things. But those are the three. That's it. Right. It's always been those three.
Yeah.
There's never been.
I don't know if it's fair to say this, but I like to look at it from a really fundamental, basic standpoint when trying to describe authority about something. Like, let's say you're back 20 years ago in grade school or whatever, writing a research paper. You cite your sources, which are links, and your teacher's grading you on how well each paragraph flows into each paragraph and how you're talking about your research subject and all that shit. It's relatively simple stuff that's been going on for thousands of years, just put on a computer. And if you ever learn how to write...
that's a good simile for the situation. It's like, come on. Like, are your words good? Does your site behave correctly?
Yeah, it's like...
And do you have authority?
You get hung up on stuff like keyword density, but it's like, I'm sure the whole reason keyword density got popular was because if you wrote a research paper that was really perfect, however you could grade a perfect paper, it tend to average out that, you're mentioning laminar flow in a pipe, this many times when describing it's whatever the fuck you're talking about. I'm just thinking of stuff.
Well, yeah. You'd expect a black hole paper to have Hawking radiation in a good few times. Yeah, exactly.
But I think people just get obsessed with, okay, should I have that much? No, just think about if you knew how to write a good paper, And I'm not the best paper writer, but I just understand that that's like a concept, and here we are.
You say you're great, not very good, Garrett.
Yeah,
I think I graduated with like a 2.98 out of college.
I think there's other factors that kind of layer on top of the three that you mentioned that are complementary, and that would be your PR. That's like people skills, and then also copywriting too, which is storytelling.
Well, yeah. I mean, your conversion rates determine your money making, definitely. So, but I think that falls under your words.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a separate thing.
You're describing three very broad buckets,
but they are the only buckets.
Right.
Technical, words, and links.
Yeah,
I think if you have those three, you can be a billionaire with those three. And I know annoyingly, I know that from a client of ours who's a billionaire, and I wish I was a billionaire.
Something that we're going to be pushing.
All he got right was his words, his links, and his technical.
Something we're going to be pushing on our skin site is, obviously meta descriptions, ranking, whatever. But for click-through, obviously, can be important. Not can be.
But that falls under words.
So I've been trying to get the team of the people helping me with the internal sites, reading copywriting books and reading this and reading that, and then optimizing a page title not just for SEO but good click through. And that meta description and then the first 2 sentences of that article that are showing to increase click through. So
but that falls under your words as well. So
no, you're right.
I stand by it. But I mean, there's loads of ways. I mean, words is actually the biggest. And even though I'm a link builder, like your words part is the part that I'm most interested in, because I'm really interested in psychology. I'm really interested in sales. I'm really interested in conversion. There's a lot less. Like links are more technical. Like a good link is on a relevant site. You get to enjoy a lot of the things that I enjoy in getting the links, but they don't offer any additional interest in that area. Whereas your words on your site is definitely the area where you can really level up an insane amount. And that's where like the stuff that Vin's doing on his sites and stuff is super smart.
Yeah.
And it's
and I still think that I'm still not nearly as good as I need to be.
The day we think we're as good as we need to be is the day we've just become like lazy, arrogant.
Yeah.
Like you always have to think there's something else to learn, and there always is. There's always another good book.
Right.
Like the next book you read, you enjoy as much as the one before, because there's always something to learn. That's the cool thing.
Or a different viewpoint to look through.
What's depressing about our industry is how few books people read.
Yeah.
Like you're trying to become an expert at something, you have to read a lot.
Why read a book when you can buy a course for $1,500?
I know, that's what makes me laugh. Like you can literally learn everything Russell Brunson knows and teaches on his expensive courses. You can buy the ebook for $7. Like just take the time to read the book. Like I mean, Vin was saying last week he's reading Expert Secrets. .com Secrets. Like
.com Secrets, yeah.
.com Secrets, yeah. Like he sold that same information for serious amounts of money as an audio course.
Right.
But it's in the book.
I mean, case in point.
Take the time to buy some good books.
C. Carter, and this is C. Carter put out that authority post, authority site primer on Wikifire, and that one article or series of articles I attribute to the growth of niche sites and the authority site model.
Yeah,
big time. And a lot of people probably lost a whole lot of money and time following that exact outline and never took it upon themselves to expand their knowledge through further reading.
Yeah,
that's
and
unfortunate.
he's a classic example of someone who has a very broad knowledge base.
Yeah.
But
But
he reads a lot.
my point was that people put so much faith into that one article that they probably shot themselves in the foot by not expanding knowledge or not keeping up with, if what was said in there works for their
Well,
industry.
it's like what Gary Vaynerchuk says. He says, you don't learn from what I tell you. You learn from what you see me doing. Because my next book is what I'm doing now.
Right.
Like, watch what I'm doing now, and that's my next book. Like, you've read my previous book, great, but I was doing that 8 years ago. Watch what I'm doing now, and that's when you'll learn. Like, so watch what C Carter's doing now. How they're marketing SERPWoo, the kind of funny stuff they do, that thread they did on Builder Society was brilliant, where he's like, some guy challenged him to something, and he's like, well, if you get 800 members to do this, then I'll reveal this thing. And it was just like a huge like SERPWoo promotional. It just like,
yeah,
the guy just fell for it, hook, line, sinker, totally failed, and just
and I see that guy.
Funny marketing,
That specific guy kind of rips off Carter's style now. Like every one of his new posts has that Carter twang to it. It's funny.
Which I like, because it's like he's learned the lesson, which is, don't learn what I've told you, learn what I'm doing now, because what I've told you is what I was doing 5 years ago.
Right, exactly. Anyway,
I think it was a good show this week, guys.
Yeah, good conversation tonight.
Cool.
But next week we'll be back to our normal format, and maybe
next week hopefully we'll have a guest, because I might be kind of pretty patchy next week, because I'm on vacation. I'm trying to bully some people into being my replacement, but apparently people don't like being awake at midnight in this country. We're just pathetic here. I mean, Garrett's been over recently. He knows how pathetic we are over here. It's like, well, I'll try and bully someone in to be a special guest. I will definitely drop by for 10 minutes or something to say hello, but hopefully there'll be a pretty good guest next week.
Cool. Yeah, if you don't find anybody, let me know, because I have a small list of people.
I'll let you know by Tuesday if we haven't got someone lined up. Definitely. Yeah.
All right, guys. Good
Cool.
show.
That's a wrap. Thanks for joining us.
Later, guys.
See you next week.
Smash that like button.
Adios.
Smash that dad button.